Can you check on your phone to see if the link is live, if you don't mind? Is it live, Randall? Let me know if that should be better. You post it on. Phone down. You wanna charge it? Okay. Y'all ready? Ready? This is the chosen few. This is the remnants. Other people had to leave. They had to escape. But you guys, you're sitting through it, and I appreciate that. It's kind of late. Like I said, you know, y'all could be at a club, a movie, or something else. But hopefully I'm giving you some good food, some good entertainment on today. And I'm going to try to wrap it up with this, all right? All right. Cool? All right, here we go. Part 3, the history of the intertestamental period. The so-called 400 years of darkness, right? We're going to see ain't no darkness going on. But let's see what's going on. All right. Now, we break history before the New Testament, or the so-called New Testament. With the Babylonian exile, Israel ceased to be an independent nation and became a minor territory in succession of larger empires. Very little is known about the latter years of the Persian domination because the Jewish historian Josephus, our primary source for the intertestamental period, all but ignore them. Now look at this. With Alexander the Great's acquisition of the Holy Land, a new and more insidious threat to Israel emerged. Alexander was committed to a creation of a world united by Greek language and culture, also known as Hellenization. That came from his successor. A policy followed by successors. This policy called Hellenization had a dramatic impact on the Hebrews. Alexander's death happened in 323 BC. The empire he won was divided among his generals. Two of them founded dynasties, the Ptolemies of Egypt and the Seleucids in Syria and Mesopotamia, that would contend to control the Holy Land for over a century. And we're going to find out who Antiochus Epiphanes is. He actually led a campaign through the Levant into Kemet. My Kemet scholar, you got there? Yeah. What you know about that? You know a lot about that, right? Yeah. All right. Yes, sir. They on point. See, was that the Nubian at that time? Yes. Okay, there we go. Thank you. That's my Egypt scholar back there. All right. I ain't gonna tell you who it is. That's my secret weapon back there. The rule of the Ptolemies was considerate of Jewish religious sensitivity, but in 198 BC, the Seleucids took control and paved the way for one of the most heroic periods in Hebrew history. The earliest Seleucid years were largely a continuation of the tolerant rule of the Ptolemies, but Antiochus, the fourth Epiphanes, whose title means God made manifest, I don't know if we get that though, but changed that when he attempted to consolidate his fading empire through a policy of radical Hellenization. That means that that before him, the Ptolemies allowed a degree of autonomy in regards to worship, religion, etc. He came on to see, nah, you ain't doing that. You see the Greek or you not. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what's his mindset. It says here, while a segment of the Jewish aristocracy had already adopted Greek ways, the majority of Jews were outraged. Antiochus' atrocities were aimed at the eradication of the Hebrew religion. He prohibited some of the central elements of Hebrew practice, attempted to destroy all copies of the what? And we have historical evidence of destroying Tanakh and Torahs. Wonder why we don't have a lot of stuff beyond 300 BCE. Historical record tells you who's responsible for destroying that stuff. Do your research. Let's keep going. And required offerings to the Greek god Zeus. His crowning outrage was the erection of a statue of Zeus and the sacrificing of a pig in the Jerusalem temple itself. Opposition to Antiochus is led by Matthias, an elder villager from a priestly family, and his 5 sons, Judas Maccabeus, which we most know, which means the hammer, Jonathan, Simeon, Jochanan, and Eliezer, right? Matthias destroyed the Greek altar established in his village, Macedonian, killed Antiochus and his emissary. This triggered the Maccabean revolt, a 24-year war from 166 to 142 BCE that resulted in the independence of Judah until the Romans took control in 63 BC. So that means for almost 100 years, a dynasty of Israelites was established, independent and autonomous from any rule from any other empire. Does that sound like 400 years of darkness to you? That don't sound like no year. That don't say there's a lot of stuff going on, right? Follow me now. The victory of Matthias' family was a hollow one, however. With the death of his last son, Simon, the Hasmonean dynasty that they found soon evolved into an aristocratic Hellenistic regime. Sometimes hard to distinguish that from the Seleucids. So now, not only did they not only have the independence, now a lot of the rich nobility was gravitating towards Greeks. They weren't filled with Greeks to do business. Here's the thing, when you're an autonomous sovereign nation, you stay within your own nation and do treaties with other nations. But now you're a small nation, and you see that your import-export is in other regions where the dominating oppressor is at. You're going to have to be nice with them to do your business there. Are you following me? Yes? All right. During the reign of Simon's son, John Hyrcanus, very important, the Orthodox Hebrews who had supported the Maccabees fell out of favor. With only a few exceptions, the rest of the Hasmoneans supported the Jewish Hellenizers. I'm going to say it again. With only a few exceptions, we're going to see that, the rest of the Hasmoneans supported what? The Hellenizers. That's a problem. The Pharisees were persecuted by Alexander Jannaeus in 103 to 76 BCE. Now look at this. The Hasmonean dynasty ended when, in 63 BC, an expounded Roman Empire intervened in a dynastic clash between the 2 sons of Jannaeus, who we just saw here, and Aristobulus II and Hyrcanus II. Pompey, in general, you know who Pompey is, right? Well, he's the city of Pompey. Movie, interesting. The general who subdued the east for Rome took Jerusalem after a 3-month siege of the temple area, massacring who? Priests in the performance of their duties and entering the most holy place. This sacrilege began Roman rule in a way that the Hebrews could neither forgive nor forget. This is not 40 years of darkness. This is the lie that you're taught through Orthodox Christianity, because they're hiding something here. What is the title of this lecture again? Somebody? Say it louder. The Patriarchal Priesthood in the Bible, unveiled. So if I put darkness over something, I'm veiling it, right? Y'all pull the veil off so you can see. We're going to see why all this history is important. We're going to move forward. All right. What prominent religious sects arose during this time period? Let me ask somebody, anybody. Somebody raise your hand, whoever knows this history. Tell us the 4 prominent ones before I move forward. 4 prominent religious, within Israel that came up during Pharisees, Essenes, Levites. Okay, there we go. Excellent. Now we keep reading here. During the reigns of John, Antipas concentrated in extending the borders of the new Jewish nation. He also believed in compelling the people he conquered to become what? Proselytes to the Jewish religion, which they had not done before. Proselyte, somebody goes get somebody, a heathen, another nation, circumcise them, so you go under the laws of Moses, and now you're one of us. Right? It was a sovereign nation. Israel, when after Solomon, even when the kingdom split, they never went outside the nation to go and convert somebody to a Hebrew religion. That didn't exist. That didn't happen until Hellenization came on the scene. Now these Hebrews are thinking like, the who? The Hellenes, the Greeks. Hey, let's take our religion and go and put it on everybody else. It wasn't doing that before that. This is important that you understand this. That's some leaven that we got to leave out the lump. This is what I'm saying. This is what causes division, is when we impose our particular ideology on somebody else instead of leading them to it. You can lead somebody and be tolerant of what they support, but at the same time, when you impose or try to convert them, which Christianity teaches you to do, you're acting just like these Hellenized Hebrews. Y'all feeling me? But not all of them did this, though. We're going to see. He would forcibly circumcise all non-Jews and demand that the people of entire cities and regions comply with the Mosaic law. Each location where foreign peoples were subdued, he would lead scribes to oversee the religious affairs of the people. These scribes were descended from the Essenes, where we get Hasidic from. Essenes just means the pious ones, the people who are very religious or ritualistic. Follow me? Among the Jews who had inspired the Maccabean revolt. That means at this point in time, priests of Levi, who was reinstituted during the Persian captivity, were no longer being used to proselytize, circumcise, and do all the rites and rituals. Anybody that was pious or ritualistic, I'm taking you, go for them, and teach them the law. This is where the Levites' rule and reign ended, just like the prophecy says. But you think the Most High is going to leave us in darkness? Nah, he got to do something. So let's keep reading. The scribes are not really interested in political or military power. They simply sought to impose religious purity and strict observance of the law. Now we have the Hebrews doing the same thing their captors were doing. Stockholm syndrome, fall in love with your oppressor, and start doing the same thing that he does. This is why autonomy and exclusivity and being self-sufficient, independent is very important for us to survive as a nation. Y'all feeling me? All right. They were strict, uncompromising legalists. In time, they would be known as the Pharisees. Another group also descended from the Hasidim, but who chose to live somewhat monastic existence were known as the Essenes. They lived a quiet, withdrawn life near where? Dead Sea. It was this group of pious committed Jews who would become responsible for producing the now famous Dead Sea Scrolls. But scholastically speaking, that is not 100% accurate, because when you study the Dead Sea Scrolls, there was multiple communities that were there. But the most influential community that was in that region was the Essenes. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Saying that for a reason. These Hebrews were more interested in political power and favored a more Hellenistic form of Judaism. Read it again. They were interested in political power. They favored a more what? Hellenistic form of what? Judaism. So the game changed during this period of darkness. They don't want you to see that. You follow me? Right. It says can be known as the Sadducees. That's the second group, right? Our third group, the same Sadducees. They believe one can successfully compromise with the Greek teachings and way of life and still remain loyal to God, or El, or Yah. They objected to the strictness and legalistic mindset of the Pharisees. Why? Because if I'm so strict and upholding the law of the Most High, I can't compromise with the Greeks. But if I can find a balance between the two, I'm good, and teach people to do the same thing. Remember, these were scribes who were pious, or Hasidim, or people who were pious. That means people of nobility who were smart, who knew the law, not necessarily Levites. Are you following me? This is very, very important. All right. And believe that the control of the religious spirit of the people should reside only in the hands of who? The priests. But they all wasn't Levites. But they made the people think that they were the legitimate race. Pharisees and Sadducees, two different ones. Don't keep going. They did not leave an oral law, which is called the Talmud, which is the Mishnah, and the Gemara. Okay, keep going. And believe that control of the religious affairs of the people should reside only in the hands of the priests. It was this group which controlled the priesthood. It was this group which controlled the what? Priesthood. Remember, the second temple was built at this time, and they were the ones going in running the show. People that was Hellenized form of Judaism. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Antagonism between these two factions of Judaism, the Pharisees and Sadducees, will later become so great that it result in destruction of the what? Hasmonean dynasty. It will bring an end to Hebrew Israelite sovereignty. Over 2 priest classes brought the entire nation in. You see how important the priesthood is? How much influence it has? Look what they can do as dividing their own people and destroying an independent colony. It wasn't the Romans. The Romans were doing their thing, but it was inside the community where the division starts. And this is going out to anybody in here that's trying to cause division in Israel or the Black conscious community. Do not become an agent provocateur and do not cause a destruction, because we can't build as a nation if we bring in something in that's causing discord amongst all the brothers. You feel me? Yes. Can I get an applaud on that? Yes. Now, keep going. I read the rest of that. Let's keep moving. All right, this goes on, and I just have a thing I was comparing which group was. Pharisees, the beginning groups from Nehemiah and Ezra, supposedly the idea of separation became a dominant factor. Separation developed, but became mostly flesh and blood. A group soon developed that opposed everything foreign, anything that right. They tended to elevate the mass of accumulated tradition up to the level of the written Tanakh. They wouldn't eat anything that was not tied. They believed in the resurrection of the dead, human probation, and the future judgment, descended rapidly into a holier-than-thou attitude. They were almost all the scribes, the Pharisees, became popular with the masses, tended to be rebellious against foreign dominations of the nation, and were bitterly opposed to the Sadducees. Keep moving. Sadducees. Their roots developed from a Greek era when there arose a group of national leaders who favored compromise and a get-along attitude with their oppressors. You got to be careful with that. The Sadducees were the original party of privilege. The majority of the priests and national leaders were what? Sadducees. They were interested in not blocking the vote. They wanted to be nice with the Greeks and the Romans, right? The high priesthood and half of the Sectarian were controlled by who? The Sadducees. But they're taking the Hellenism into the temple. Interesting. Their beliefs and character, they deny the inspiration of the books of the so-called Torah or the Tanakh, except for the Pentateuch, which is the Greek first 5 books of the so-called Torah. Because Pentateuch just means 5 in Greek, first 5 books. They didn't believe in the resurrection or afterlife. They did not exist of angels, and they were as cold and moderate as the Pharisees was hot and extreme. So they were things like, the Greeks are coming in. Who cares? It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Essenes, their way of life and moral code. It was given a name because of their saintliness, rewarded a reverent life as the only true sacrifice, thought to shun the ownership of private property, responsible for some of, I gotta fix that, of the Dead Sea Scrolls, by so-called New Testament times, had isolated themselves from society in general. The colored Roman society never played an important role in public. They protested against the high priesthood of the Maccabean princes, refused participation in where? Did much in feeding the needy. And we had zealots, extreme nationalists, supported violent uprisings against Greek and Roman authority. That's all they cared about. They didn't care all of stuff. Listen, man. Turn up. And they were responsible for a lot of the Jewish Roman wars that would come about because these people were not laying on their back to take names. You understand what I'm saying? That's like our strict RPG community that's out there, that's willing to take up arms and say, yo, we're going to defend what we got. Yo, we got to let this press and lay us down, but that's another lecture. Let's move forward. All right. Now, what is the Apocrypha? Remember, I said this earlier. What does that Apocrypha mean? It, right? Judaism also had sects which possessed esoteric or recondite scriptures, such as the Essenes, was one of them, and Pt2. It says the occurrence among these particular sects is explicitly attested, but doubtless there were others. Indeed, many of the books which the so-called church branded as apocryphal were of Jewish origin. Now listen to this. The Jewish authorities, therefore, constrained to form a canon, that is a list of sacred scriptures, in some cases to specify particular writings claiming this character which were rejected and forbidden. The former so the distinction expressed in the ceremonial rule, and you can take a look at the Talmud for that, make the hands which touch them unclean, the apocrypha. That means that Orthodox Jewish sects say, hey, if y'all read these books, you're unclean, according to our ceremonial law. Why was this priesthood afraid for people to read the knowledge that was recounted by the scribes at this time period and telling the people, if you read or touch these things, you are unclean. Interesting. This wasn't done by accident. There's a reason for that. We're going to keep going. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, but what are the most apocryphal books? What are the most important apocryphal books that give detail about the priesthood during this time? Because most of the Hebrew literature comes during this time period. Are you aware of that? So the priests was burning Torahs and Tanakh left and right. So the people had to scribe some more information and pass it on. But the Orthodox priesthood did not want the people to read this stuff and say it was ceremonial and you can touch this. But the most important books that I want y'all to read about, if you want to know about the true priesthood, First Maccabees. Anybody familiar with First Maccabees? Tell you about the history that I just read earlier, right? Okay. So let's move forward. We know what that is. Then we have Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees does what? Give you more of that history that transpired between the so-called intertestamental periods, right? Then we have what? The book of what? Jubilees. How many people are familiar with the book of Jubilees? All right. And we also have the book of what? So, some of these books that they don't want you to read is the history of how this Pharisaic sect of priests came about. They don't want you to know how he came on the scene and took power. They don't want you to know that because maybe they're not legit. Then you have Second Maccabees and give you more of the history. You have the book of Jubilees, an ancient Jewish religious work of 50 chapters considered canonical by what church? What church? Ethiopian church. Wow. As well as the Pt2, which is the Ethiopian Jews, where it is known as the Book of Division. Jubilees is considered one of the so-called pseudeographia by who? The Protestant, the Roman Church, and the East Orthodox churches. They said that's a fake book. Get it out of here. But the Ethiopians said, no, it's a legit work and we keep it. Interesting that you have colored people saying this book is worth something. You are not color say now throw it out. Are you following me? Yes. All right. Now, let's keep reading. Jubilees is considered one of them, I read that part, is well known to early Christians as evidenced by the writings of Epiphanes, Justus Martyr, Origen, Theodorus, Isidore, so and so for all these Greek converts. The text was also utilized by the Essene community that originally collected the so-called Dead Sea Scrolls. The Book of Jubilees claims to present the history of the division of the days of the Lord, of the events of the years, the year, weeks, and the jubilees of the world as revealed to Moshe by angels while he was on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. They give you a chronology of that. Now, the book of Enoch, which I read some of it to you earlier, I told you about certain chapters when you were teaching, is an ancient Jewish religious work ascribed by tradition to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Although modern scholars estimate the older section to date about 300 BC, and at this time is when the Greeks came on the scene. But when we look at the material, we see it goes as far back as 300 BCE. But a lot of the stuff that we have now, in Orthodox Judaism, doesn't even go back this far. But they don't want you to see this part. They want to hide this part. And the latest part, the book of Patriarchal, goes probably to the 1st century. And it's not part of the so-called biblical canon as used by the Jews, apart from the Pt2. For some reason, these Ethiopians are holding on to this stuff. Most Christian denomination traditions may accept the books of Enoch as having some historical or theological interest or significance, but they generally regard the books of Enoch as non-canonical or non-inspired because it happened during a period of darkness. Guys can't know about that stuff, that period of darkness stuff. Christian Gentiles like, no, we don't want you to have that. Let's keep it moving. All right? Now, who are their scenes? How many people are familiar with who their scenes are? Okay. After this, everybody's going to be familiar with who they are. I'm not saying I subscribe to them. I'm just saying you're going to be more familiar with them once I'm done. Their scenes were set with the Second Temple Judaism that flourished around the 2nd century BCE to the 1st century CE. So during the time of 167, where the Jews were taking back their dynasty, they had one dynasty all the way to the 1st century, and this typically occurred when the destruction of the temple happened during 66 to 70 AD during the First Roman Jewish World War. Not World War, I'm sorry, war. But some scholars claim succeeded from the Zadokite priests. So now, these priests, they say that they have a lineage to these priests. But being much fewer in number than the Pharisees and Sadducees, the other two major sects, the Essenes lived in various cities but congregated in communal life dedicated to asceticism. Some groups practice celibacy. Asceticism is refraining from worldly or fleshly lusts and desires. One of them being enjoying sex too much. That is how serious these guys are, right? Now, voluntary poverty is what they also subscribe to, and daily immersion. Many separate but related religious groups of that era share similar mystic, eschatological, Messianic, and ascetic beliefs. These groups are collectively referred to by various scholars as the Essenes. Josephus records that Essenes existed in large numbers, and thousands lived throughout Roman where? Judea. That's where they was at. Essenes have gained fame in modern times as a result of the discovery of an extensive group of religious documents known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. Skip that. The first reference is by the Roman writer Pliny the Elder in 79 CE, right before he died, in his natural history. Pliny relates in a few lines that the Essenes did not marry, possessed no money, and had existed for 1,000 generations. Unlike Philo, who did not mention any particular geographical location of the Essenes, other than the whole land of Israel, Pliny places them in En-Gedi next to the Dead Sea Scrolls. A little later, Josephus gave a detailed account of their scenes in the Jewish War, 75 CE, with a shorter description of the antiquities of the Jews and the life of the Josephus. Claiming first-hand knowledge, he listed Essenes as one of the three sects of Jewish philosophy alongside the Pharisees and Sadducees. He relates the same information concerning piety, celibacy, absence of personal property and of money, the belief in communality, and commitment to strict observance of the Shabbat. 7. Further adds that the Essenes ritually immersed in water every morning, ate together after prayer, devoted themselves to charity and benevolence, forbade the expression of anger, we saw the anger, and it says, studied the books of the elders, observed secrets, and were very mindful of the names the angels kept in their sacred rites. Pliny also, in geographical located them in the desert near northwestern shore of the Dead Sea, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. Now, keep moving. Well, I'll do this. According to Josephus, the Essenes had settled not in one city, but in large numbers in every town. That's important. It's important. All right, I'm not going to read all this, a lot of stuff, but I'm going to read this part right here. The accounts of Josephus and Philo show the Essenes led a strictly communal life, often compared by scholars to later who? Christian. That's crazy. Monastic living. Many of the Essene groups appear to have been celibate, but Josephus speaks of also another order of Essenes that observed the practice of being engaged for 3 years and then becoming married. According to Josephus, they had customs and observances such as collective ownership, electing a leader to attend to the interests of the group, and obedience to the orders from their leader. Also, they were forbidden from swearing oaths and from sacrificing animals. They controlled their tempers and served as channels of peace, carrying weapons. So these were no pushovers now. For protection against robbers. The Essenes chose not to possess slaves, but served each other, and as a result of communal ownership, did not engage in trading. Josephus and Philo provide lengthy accounts of the communal meetings, meals, and religious celebrations of these people. After a total of 3 years of probation, newly joining families were taken oath that included the commitment to practice piety towards their deity or toward their Elohim, and righteousness towards humanity to maintain a pure lifestyle, to abstain from criminal and immoral activities, to transmit their rules uncorrupted, and to preserve the books of their scenes and the names of the angels. Ritual purification was a common practice among the peoples of Palestine during this period and was thus not specific to their scenes. Ritual baths are found in many synagogues of the period. Purity and cleanliness was considered so important to the scene that they were refrained from defecation on the Sabbath. That's great. They had a right meal on Friday. That's great. If it is correct to identify the community upon what you're seeing, it says, then according to the Dead Sea Scroll, the Essenes community school was called Yahad, meaning community, in order to differentiate themselves from the rest of the Jews who were repeatedly labeled the breakers of the covenant. Move forward. I'll move past this. This is Philo's account of their scenes. I'll move past that. This is Josephus' account of their scenes. All this information he gives us on their scenes. Let's get past that. Then we got Pliny the Elder's account of their scenes. Let's move past that. Y'all can do your research on that video. Now, this slide is coming called the next slide, but whatever. Further reading on their scenes and the Dead Sea Scrolls in the intertestamental period. Here's a 3 great starter books that anybody can read, easy to pick up. First one is called Between the Testaments, Pharisees, Sadducees, and the Essenes by Robert C. Jones. The Homing Quick Sword style was actually happy with me if anybody wants to take a look at it. It's called The Gods of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They start with the intertestamental period. They go from there to what we're talking about, the Hasmonean dynasty, the 3 religious sects. all the way to the Essene community, the Quran community, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then this book, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the first, what? Robert Easy. This is interesting. We're going to move forward. Move forward. Now, let's talk about a little bit about the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I want to show you something in the Dead Sea Scrolls so we can see if the priesthood was preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Somebody left this documentation behind because they wanted people to know about a priesthood. We're going to find out because a lot of people think the Dead Sea Scrolls is just the Bible. No, not just the Tanakh and the Torah. There's also other manuscripts talking about how the community lived, how they view things, how they interpret the text, etc. See, if you want to know about this time period, you got to read these other documents. All right. Dead Sea Scrolls is a collection of just under 900 documents, including text from the Hebrew Bible, discovered between 1947 and 1956 in 11 caves, in and around the ruins of an ancient settlement of Kerbet Kuram on the northwest shore of the Dead Sea in Israel. The texts are of great religious and historical significance as they include the oldest known surviving copies of what? Biblical and extra-biblical documents and preserve evidence of great diversity in the late Second Temple Judaism. They were written in Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, and in Hebrew they also had the square script without the dot or the diacritic marks, and also in the Paleo-Hebrew, which is similar because if you look at the Samaritan Pentateuch, that's also written in the form of the Paleo-Hebrew, and that still exists today. That's another conversation, another connection. I'm not going to get here right now. Keep reading. It says the advances generally date from 150 BCE to 70 CE. The Dead Seas were traditionally divided into three groups: biblical manuscripts, copies of text in the Hebrew Bible, which comprise roughly 40% of the identified scrolls; apocryphal or pseudeographical manuscripts. I wonder who was labeling it that when he saw it. Okay, that's important. Known documents in the Second Temple period, like Enoch and Jubilee. Did I mention those earlier? All right. That were ultimately canonized in the Hebrew Bible, which comprise 30% of the identified scrolls, and sectarian manuscripts, which we're going to touch on. Previously unknown documents that speak to the rules and beliefs of a particular group or groups within greater Judaism, like the community rule, world scroll, and Pesha. Anybody knows what the community rule is, the world scroll, or Pesha is? Do I know what any of those manuscripts are? Nobody probably knows about that, but when we read this stuff, you're going to find out about this priesthood system. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's move forward. Let's get back to the rest of that. Definitely do research on Dead Sea Scrolls. Some more information on Dead Sea Scrolls. Talks about another 30% contain biblical commentaries or other texts such as the community rule and the war of the sons of light and against the sons of darkness, 1QF. That's the designation for that scroll. And that's called the war scroll, related to beliefs, regulations, membership requirements, and a small Jewish sect which many researchers believe lived in the Quran area. The rest of the fragments are yet identified. Here, it is thought that the Quran community would have viewed the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees as what? Divinely inspired what? So whoever these people are that write these things also kept the Book of Enoch and Jubilees as divinely inspired scripture. So when we talk about scripture, whose lens are you viewing scripture as? That's why I do a history before I do the text, because history points me to which text validate to understand the full picture. Biblical texts cited the most often in the non-biblical Dead Sea Scrolls are the Psalms, followed by the book of Isaiah, the book of Deuteronomy. I wonder why Isaiah is upheld by them, Psalms is upheld by them, and the book of Deuteronomy. Lord's prophecy and praises to the Most High. Important texts include Isaiah's scroll, which a lot of us know, a commentary on Habakkuk, the community rule, which gives much information on the structure and theology of the sect, and the earliest version of the Damascus document. Move forward. Move forward, move forward. Now, the Damascus document is the documents that they don't really put out there for the people to read when it comes to Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the reason why they don't tell you a lot of this information, but I'm going to give it to you today. You can write it down, go do your research. The Damascus document can be divided into two separate sections of work. The admonitions and the what? The admonition, where did we hear that word earlier from? Earlier, who did I mention in regards to admonition? Enoch gave admonitions to his sons and had a conversation with Noah and gave him more admonition. Admonitions is telling you how to live a righteous life. This is why he was identified as the first person in the scripture to walk uprightly before the Most High. Noah, you got admonition. Look at this. The admonition comprises moral instruction, exhortation, and warning addressed to members of the sect, together with polemic against its opponents. It serves as a kind of introduction to the second section. Meanwhile, the laws look at this new covenant community expressed to them through the teacher of righteousness. The person who is in charge of this community is labeled as the teacher of righteousness. You follow me? This is the actual scroll right here. I got this from an archive online. That you can actually look at the manuscript itself. And I was actually reading through it in the Hebrew to ensure that what they're telling me is actually lining up to this. Very important. Admonition, talk about the history of the community, the legal dealings with the community, with inside and outside the community, the warnings, and also the supplement discusses the apostasy, disobedience, and further warnings of the promise to the faithful. Right? Then we have the laws. Laws in the master document also found in Cairo, Geniza, but what they actually did was exclusion from the community on the basis of physical defect, which is similar to the priests examining the lepers, right? Or the people who were malformed and they sent them out. They also deal with the death who are responsible for the death of a Jew using Gentile courts of justice, meaning that they was refraining from dealing with the courts. You feel me? Laws about reproof or correction and vengeance. Laws about oaths, lost articles, and testimony and judges. Purification and water. Regulations for keeping the Shabbat. Laws for keeping purity of the temple, which is the body. Dealing with transgressors. Relations with Gentiles. These people did not like Gentiles. They kept from them because they said that they corrupted the priesthood system. Follow what I'm saying here. They also go into the dietary laws, purity rules, regulation for those in camps, a penal code, dealing with infractions of the communal discipline, and expulsion ceremony. Before they kicked you out, they gave you a little ceremony. Right? But all of these things were things in the Damascus doctrine. You go back and research and see why they don't teach us this stuff. They don't teach us about this. Tell you about the Dead Sea Scrolls, but never say about the people who actually penned this stuff down. Okay? The rule of the congregation. It's very important because when you read this, the rule of the congregation is no longer of two appendices and describes an eschatological congregation of men, women, and children who have kept God's covenant and atoned for the ways of the wicked. The title of the work itself is derived from the opening passage as follows. This is the rule for all the congregation of Israel in the last days when they are mobilized to join the Yahad, which means community. They must live by the law of the sons of Zadok, the priests, and the men of their covenant, they who cease to walk in the way of the people, these same men of his party who kept the covenant during evil times, and so atone for the land. Now, why is this important? Because when you keep reading it, it talks about the Messiah of Aaron and David. A Messiah, or Mashiach of Aaron and David. Aaron represents the priesthood and David represents the kingship. Priesthood and kingship. Priesthood and kingship. Whoever this person is supposed to be has to be both priest and king. Whoever this man is, whoever this so-called teacher of righteousness is, has to fulfill this, and this is what this community believes. This is before so-called Christians came on the scene. This is what they were teaching. And you keep reading here, it says the congregation itself, largely with the operation of the sect during these end times, and the functions and purity and prerequisites demanding of the sect during the Messianic assembly banquet. They believed that there was going to be a Messiah that's going to have an assembly banquet with the people in the end times. And that's great. This is what these people taught. There's no New Testament inside or nothing like that. This is 125 years before so-called New Testament came on the scene. But these people were keeping things similar to so-called Christians. I don't know. I'm wondering why they don't show us this stuff, but let's keep moving. Keep moving. Remember, Messiah, Aaron, and who? David. The Melchizedek scroll. Wait, hold on. What? The Melchizedek scroll? What? These people had the Melchizedek scroll? Hold on now. What does this thing say? What does this Melchizedek scroll say? It's designated as 11Q13, and everything I show you is the actual pictures of these actual documents itself. And again, I went over it to make sure that the stuff that they translated is accurate. It's very important. It took me some time to do that, but I did it, right? There's a lot of fragments. Okay, it's a fragmentary manuscript among the Dead Sea Scrolls, which mentions the Melchizedek as leader of who? God's angels in a war in heaven against the angel of darkness instead of the more familiar archangel Michael. The text is an apocalyptic commentary on the Jubilee year of Leviticus 25. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain texts in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. The language of 11 through 13 is Hebrew, not Greek, not Aramaic. It's in Hebrew. Date of composition is circa before 100 BCE. In the fragmentary passage, the term Elohim appears a dozen times, mainly referring to the God of Israel, but in commentary on who says to Zion, your Elohim reigns, 11:13 states that Zion is the congregation of all the sons of righteousness, while Melchizedek is your Elohim, who will deliver the sons of righteousness from the loud. So Melchizedek is considered an Elohim, or a great power that's going to be used or be the agent of the Most High to destroy the sons of unrighteousness or those from the loud. The actual document actually reads, and it will be proclaimed at the end of days concerning the captives, as he said to proclaim liberty to the captives in Isaiah 61:1. His interpretation is that he will assign them to the sons of heaven and to the inheritance of Melchizedek, for he will cast their lot amid the portion of Melchizedek, who will return them there and will proclaim to them, I wrote it twice, the liberty forgiven them. That means it's Melchizedek, high priest, is going to forgive the sins of Israel before war can begin. Are you feeling me? He read of all their iniquities. And the Day of Atonement is the end of the 10th Jubilee, when all the sons of light and the men of the lot of Melchizedek will be atoned for. And a statute concerns them to provide them with their rewards. But this is the moment of the year of grace for Melchizedek, and he will, by his strength, judge the holy ones of El, executing judgment, and it is written concerning him in the Psalms of David, who said, Elohim has taken his place in the divine council. He written, in the midst of the gods, he holds judgments. This is all in this manuscript. And Melchizedek will avenge the vengeance of the judgments of God, and he will drag them from the hand of Belial. This high priest is going to put in all this work before Israel is freed, setting the stage, and then they're going to destroy the sons of Belial. Somebody who's from this order of Melchizedek. This is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm not making this stuff up. Go back 11 through 13 and take a look at it. Let's keep it moving. The Quran calendrical text. Now, what did I say earlier about Enoch? Did I say something about Enoch in a calendar? Did I mention that? I did. Well, if Enoch gave the original priesthood to Noah, and one of the things in that book talks about a calendar, I wonder who are the people who actually upheld this system. Well, if you actually look at the Quran calendrical text, you'll see that they had a 364-day solar calendar. They are mainly very fragmentary, and I have two of them here, there's much more. So the calendar is not completely understood, and I told you the part that's not understood because that's what we can believe. However, listen to this, it is significantly different from the Babylonian lunar calendar, which evolved into the 354-day Hebrew calendar as known today. Feasts were fixed to the solar year, and so occur on different days from those indicated in the Babylonian-based calendar. Interesting. Psalm 81 and 3. When you get a chance, read that. Look up the definitions for moon. And Psalm 81 and 3. It says full moon and new moon. They're not both talking about the moon, but that's another story, right? Many of the texts are rosters of weekly shifts or courses of the temple service for the 24 priestly families known as the Mishmarot. Calendars were seen in the early sections of the book of Enoch and the book of what? Text also found in large numbers at Quran. Then it keeps going on and on. If you look at 4Q 325, at the beginning of the second month, it's on the 6th day of the course of Jediah, on the 2nd of the month of the Sabbath of the course of Harim. As the years transverse, Sabbaths and feasts are usually noted. Now, when you get a chance, I want you to research this, and you'll see that the so-called calendar system is the same from the book of Enoch. They actually modified it from the book of Enoch. Very, very interesting. Patriarchal priesthood. For some reason, these people getting all this stuff right for some reason. Whoever these people may be, they're getting this stuff right. And they're not telling us, oh, the word Messiah, the pierced Messiah text. Hold on. Slow down for a second. Let's read this thing. Y'all riding with me? This is before so-called Christianity came on the scene. Pierced Messiah text. 4Q 285, write it down, research it, take a look for yourself. Let's read this. The War of the Messiah is a series of Dead Sea Scroll fragments describing the conclusion of a battle led by the leader of the congregation. Fragments that make up this document include 4Q 25, also known as the Pierced Messiah text, and LQ 14, with which is found to coincide. It's possible to also represent the conclusion of the war scroll that I mentioned earlier, as the two coherently read together. Now let's read this. The 6-line fragment, commonly referred to as the Pierced Messiah text, is written in a Herodian script of the first half of the 1st century, before anything from so-called Christians was being written. This is what was being taught in that community. Are y'all following me? So somebody might be hijacking. So we're going to see what's going on. Scholarly consensus is that Isaiah the prophet, the thickest of the forest, what it reads, will be cut down with the axe of Lebanon by majestic one will fall. And there shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, the branch of David, that they will enter into judgment with. This is blank, that's a fragment. And the prince of the congregation, the branch of David, will kill him by strokes and by wounds. And a priest of renown, that was of old times, will command the slain a kittim where this war takes place. Now, also a variant reading of the same text. Let me read this for you. And again, this is highly debated because people look at this and say, how did this stuff get there before so-called Christianity? Jewish, Christian, Gentiles, they're trying to figure this thing out. That's why they're trying to hide all of this stuff from you, right? But this one reading says, Isaiah the prophet, the thickest of parts, will be follows with an axe of Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. A staff shall rise from the root of Jesse and planting from its root to a bare fruit. The branch of David, they will enter into the judgment with them, and they will put to death the prince of the congregation, the branch of David, and with his woundings. But the high priest will command the slaying of Kittim. So this Messiah, who's going to be the king, is also connected to a priest of renown, or the high priest. I didn't make this up. I'm just presenting y'all information. Take some time to research this and try to figure out why they're hiding this stuff from us. This is crazy. Let's keep it moving. The mind might be bugging out. Other notable extra-biblical Dead Sea documents. The Temple Scroll is a restatement of the law of Moses. The blessings is a series of blessings pronounced by the master over the members of the community. The high priest and the priests and the sons of Zadok. That means the ruler of the community was their high priest. He was also after the order of Melchizedek. But was their high priest was after the order of Melchizedek. Follow me. One of the most striking characteristics of the sect was its distinctive manner of interpreting the Old Testament. The members believed that the Old Testament books were full of mysteries that were fulfilled in the history of the community. The meaning of these mysteries was hidden until El revealed them to the teacher of righteousness and some of his followers, hence the need for interpretation. One approach is such interpretation with the production of continuous commentaries on the following Old Testament books: Habakkuk, Micah, Psalms, Isaiah, Hosea, Nahum, Zephaniah. The commentaries are filled with enigmatic historical allusions to figures related to the history of the sect, such as the teacher of righteousness, the man of lies, the wicked priest, and the lion of wrath. Another interpretive strategy of the sect was to collect and interpret Old Testament passages in accordance with a particular theme. 4Q testing seems to be an anthology of Messianic texts. And also 4Q FLOR is an amalgam of eschatological texts and interpretations. You keep reading, it says an Old Testament person of the same name views Melchizedek as the key figure in the final Jubilee who will restore and make atonement for the sins of the sons of life and will execute God's judgment against Belial and his lots. This is all the writings for the community that made the so-called Dead Sea Scrolls, but for some reason they're not teaching us this stuff. I wonder why this stuff is apocryphal or hidden. Why they only tell you about the manuscripts? Why they don't tell you about all the other writings? The people wrote manuscripts. And you see that the Dead Sea Scrolls is canonical. You also got to see the people who scribed them and see what they believe. Are you feeling me? All right, let's move forward. I ain't making this up. I'm just saying. Last part, and we out of here. How I'm doing on time? Okay, I'll be less than that. 30 minutes. Can y'all rock with me? Yeah. All right. Here we go. The fulfillment of the renewed patriarchal priesthood. The fulfillment of the renewed patriarchal priesthood. And now we see during the period of the Grecian captivity, where we had the Hasmonean dynasty take place after the Maccabean revolt, 3 religious groups pop up: Pharisees, Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots. But for some reason, the Essenes were mostly related to the people that was in the area of Quran, and the Quran community had wrote commentaries about eschatological matters, a Messiah, a high priest of the order of Melchizedek, the purification of the Son of Life, the Jubilee, redemption of sins of Israel. All of these texts are written by a community who was preserving the priesthood. And when we look at their calendar, it lines up with the calendar of Enoch. And they modified and made their own version. They also took on the Melchizedek scroll and wrote how pertinent and important he is. And you know what's interesting? When you read the Talmud, it's not a knock against the Talmud. When you read the Talmud, how many times does the Talmud mention Melchizedek? Not much. Don't talk about him that much. It's almost like a byword in the Talmud, if anybody has read it. But if you read these people, they upheld it. They upheld the book of Jubilees, the book of Enoch. These were scriptures to them. Then we see the Ethiopian church also has the book of Jubilees and Enoch. Very interesting. So there's 40 years of darkness, apocryphal, the hidden information is kept from you. So you don't understand when the so-called New Testament opens up, what seeds were being planted and what harvest was reaped. Are y'all feeling me? Now, I'm not telling you to subscribe to anything, I'm just giving you the information. You follow me? All right, boom. All right. Parallel teachings between the Essenes and the who? The so-called New Testament writers. The Essenes believed and taught it was their first duty to seek the kingdom of God. Read their works, they always talked about the kingdom of God. The Essenes, keep reading, that observe from all amusements, elegance, and pleasures, and here underneath it are all the so-called scriptures in the New Testament where it gives you the same exact precept they follow that the Essenes follow. Look, I have all of these, keep moving. I have more. I have to go through all of these, keep moving. I have more. Gotta go through all of these. They offer no sacrifice, practice baptizing, keep moving. Go through all of these. Practice ceremonial purification by water. They were clothed in white garments, and they believe that in the end times, those who will be called to be the sons of light will wear white garments. Keep going. They practice the stream of charity to the poor. That means they bestow their goods to the poor. More and more parallels between the Essenes and the so-called New Testament writers. So the so-called New Testament writers were influenced by a community that were the Essenes and also those who wrote the text in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Look, I have more. All of these parallels. Listen, all of these parallels. This is not by coincidence. Keep going, and more. All of these parallels. There's so many parallels. Love your enemies. They join the loving of enemies. Now, let's not get this twisted. We're talking about loving your enemies. We're talking about the enemies of yours in the house of Israel. Forgive them. If you're going against your brother, handle it first before you go through your ritual purification, etc. Now, you'll see that because when you see these people, or the Essenes, when they expounded and they talked about loving your enemies, they was not referring to the Greeks or the Romans. Talking about your brothers you have an off with, you have beef with, handle that. Moving. Let's keep it moving. And I'll give you all that slide if you want so you can read through all the parallels. Now, so-called New Testament, Yeshua is the so-called Messiah, right, in the New Testament. And his followers, for some reason, believed in a patriarchal priesthood system. That's interesting. Well, let's read. Hebrews 2:17. Therefore, he had made like unto his brother. That means what his priest was made just like the rest of Israel, so that he may become a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to El, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. That's what the high priest did once he had entered into the what? Holies of Holies, right? Hebrews 3:1. Therefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider Yeshua the apostle, that's from apostolos in Greek, G652, which means a messenger, and a high priest, which is archireis, which means arch means first or high, and rhesis, which means priest, of our profession. He was faithful to him who appointed him, as Moses also in all his house. Hebrews 5:6. Although he was a son, he learned obedience from the things which he suffered, and having been made perfect, not perfect in the sense of what we think perfection is, but the word teli, which means to consummate, reaching the end stage towards something. Tele means far or distant, so we can telescope from, right? He became to all those who obeyed him the source of eternal salvation. Look, being designated by God as a high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. Is that there by chance that these followers of this person is understanding this Melchizedek priesthood system and attributing it to whoever they deem as being a master or the teacher of righteousness? You're going to find that out. Here it says here, this is the hope we have in Amos 1 soul, most steadfast one which enters within the veil, which we take it off, where Yeshua has entered as a forerunner for us, having become a high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham as he returned from the slaughter of the kings, and blessed him, priestly blessing, Baruch, to whom also Abraham apportioned a tenth or a tithe of the spoils. First is on. Now look at this. And so to speak, through Abraham, even Levi, who received tithes, paid tithes, when he was still in the loins of his father, when Melchizedek met him. What are they saying here? That means before the Levitical priesthood of tithe and sacrifice came on the scene, Abraham was already taught this system by Melchizedek. This is what they teach, the so-called followers of Yeshua. And it sounds similar to what we just read earlier about the community that's by the Dead Sea Scrolls. The same. So, it says here, now the perfection was through the Levitical priesthood. That means coming to a consummation through the Levitical priesthood. On the basis of it, people received the law. What further need was there for another priest to arise according to the order of Melchizedek? Now, if the people in the Quran community, listen to this, the people in the Quran community understood that the Levitical priesthood was important and you needed a Levite priest to come in the end times to enact the spiritual jubilee, to redeem Israel their sins, and to go fight against this Belial character, the son of darkness. Why would they promote Melchizedek before a so-called follower of this character came on the scene? I'm just saying. Those people were not Christians or Jewish Christians or whatever you want to call them. They didn't have no so-called Messiah. They had to teach of righteousness, and through his lineage, after the order of Melchizedek, as he was considered the high priest after the order of Melchizedek, and that community, he is responsible for helping to fulfill prophecy. Now we have another community that's also presenting the same thing, but now they have appointed a single individual of actually obtaining this. Again, they quote from Psalm 110 that says, "You are a priest forever after, according to the order of Melchizedek." A priest forever. Remember, David has said this in the Psalms. 8:1 says this: High priest was taking a seat at the right hand, which means power, working on behalf of the Most High, a minister in the sanctuary, and in the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched, not man, but every high priest is appointed to offer both gifts and sacrifices, so it is necessary that this high priest also has something to offer. But when the Messiah, so-called Messiah, appeared as a high priest, according to these people, and of the good things to come, entered through the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made by hands, that is to say, not of his creation. Now listen to this. Community at Quran and Essenes believed that the most important sanctuary was the one on earth was modeled after in heaven, and that this order of Melchizedek will be in the council of the Elohim working in the sanctuary. That's before Christianity was. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm just saying, that's just crazy. But when the Messiah appeared as a high priest, and the good things to come, I heard that part, and not through the blood of goats and calves. The Most High said, "I don't take pleasure in the blood of bulls and goats." Most High said that. It wasn't just made up. It's a greater priesthood, but through his own blood, so forth, he entered the holy place once and for all, having attained eternal redemption. And I deal with that separately because that's a so-called theological argument. We deal with that separately. Every priest stands daily ministering and offering time after time the same sacrifice which can never be taken away of the sins. But he, having offered one sacrifice for sins of all time, sat down at the right hand of God, which is an idiom or expression, meaning that somebody has assuming the power on behalf of the Most High, or an agent of the Most High, waiting from that time onward until his enemies be made a footstool for his feet, according to what we just read, because according to the Melchizedek scroll, whoever this high priest is and the pierced Messiah rendering of that text, it says that this high priest is going to redeem Israel of their sins, and then once he redeems Israel of their sins, he's going to destroy the enemies of Israel. This is before the so-called Christians came on the scene. Where is this thing coming from? It's not original, but so-called, these people believed it was fulfilled. Admonition to uphold Torah and righteousness. I don't know, did this so-called teacher of righteousness, did he tell the people to uphold the Torah? Because if he did, then he ain't Israel. But let's see. Don't think I came to abolish the law, which means to unharness or overthrow. The law and prophets did not come to abolish or fulfill, which is rule, which means to complete. Now, when the Sanhedrin would come together and they would sit down, they would talk and console on certain things. A person would come up, they would interpret Torah, and the priest would say, "You have destroyed or abolished the Torah," because you gave a misinterpretation. But when a person came up and he gave a interpretation, people agreed, "You have fulfilled Torah, completed it, perfected it, according to its consummation." So he's using terminology of a priest. But truly I say to you, so heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke shall pass from the law until all is accomplished. Whoever knows one of the least of these commandments and teaches others do the same, that will least in the kingdom. We're going to find what kingdom is in a few seconds. For I say to you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and who will not enter the kingdom of heaven. How in the world can your righteousness exceed the scribes and Pharisees unless you're upholding Torah? The difference was the Pharisees and scribes were hypocrites. So the only way you can be better than them is not be a hypocrite or follow Torah. Interesting. We see Deuteronomy 5 and 10 said, for showing loving kindness to thousands, most I say it, to those who love me and keep my commandments. Again, you shall therefore love the Lord your God and always keep his charges, statutes, ordinances, and his commandments. John 15:10 says, if you keep my commandments, who will teach your righteousness the same, you will abide in my love, just I have kept my Father's what? And abide in his love. 1 John 5 and 2 says, by this we know that we love the children of God when we love God and observe his what? 1 John 24, everyone who practices sin also practices lawlessness. And sin is lawlessness. When you break the law, you sin. Why is that the case? Because Torah comes from the root word yareh. Yareh is an archery term for taking an arrow and shooting it towards the mark. Torah is the instruction on how to aim that arrow towards the mark. Hamatao, which means sins, which means miss the mark. Hamatao is Greek. So when you miss the mark, you are not following Torah. And you're going after the abominations of other cultures, which the Essenes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees knew very well, because the Sadducees were compromising and they were taking the Hellenistic beliefs and mixing and mingling it in. So Pharisees also took their own Torah, mixed and mingled it in. Nobody had pure Torah, and the so-called teacher of righteousness was telling people follow Torah, and that one sin is going to be done away, so everything in the book has been fulfilled. Torah still stands. Mark 12 and 28 says, one of the teachers of the law came and heard them debate, and so about Yeshua. Noticing that Yeshua had given them a good answer, he asked them, of all the commandments, which is the most important? Most important one he answered is this: hear, O Israel. Shema, right? Shema, see? The Lord our God is high. One Elohim, right? The Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Well said, teacher, the man replied. Look at this. You are right in saying that God is one, not no Trinity, right? And there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart, all your understanding, all your strength. This is a scribe now and a teacher of the law, right? And to love your neighbor as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. This is the priest is saying this. Look at this. Yeshua saw that he had answered wisely, said to him, you are not far from the kingdom of Elohim. So don't say nothing about getting rid of the law. Just keep moving. I'm just saying. Are there rites of passage for the followers of the renewed patriarchal priesthood? Because now this community in Quran was resurrecting this patriarchal priesthood, and that was picked up by these so-called followers of this so-called teacher of righteousness called the Mashiach, what they call the Mashiach or Yeshua. It says here, Yeshua says, unless truly I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, you cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Yeshua answered and said to him, are you a teacher of Israel, and you do not understand these things? How do you know what the rites of passage is to come into the kingdom of the priesthood system? I'll show you that. Why is he expecting this so-called teacher of the law to understand this rite of passage? They would read it earlier in Ezekiel chapter 11, verse 19. Sprinkle clean water from my lawn yard. I'm just saying, that's in the text. Okay, well, the priesthood covenant is only designated for Israel. Israel is the holders of the priesthood. Now look, he's following Yeshua sent down, I instructed him, do not go in the way of the who? Do not enter any city of the who? But rather go where? He answered and said to them, I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You know what's interesting? There seems the Quran community only believed that the text of the scripture, something was writing, was only for Israel, not for the Gentiles. Are you feeling me? This is not neglecting the Gentiles, but this state of priesthood is only given to Israel. Follow me. A mikvah. You know what a mikvah is, right? That's it. Right passage for the priesthood system. After this, Yeshua and his disciples went out into the Judean countryside when he spent some time with them and baptized them. Watch this. Now, John was baptized at Anion near Salim. Look at this. An argument developed between some of John's disciples and a certain Jew over the matter of what? That means that the so-called baptism was a ceremonial washing, a rite of passage. Interesting. I've never seen this before until I did this research. No, ceremonial washing. 1 Peter 3:21 says, corresponding to that baptism now saves you, not from more dirt and flesh, but an appeal to God for a good conscience. This is what the mikvah was supposed to do with the purify the people before they came into the temple. It was a symbolic of their mind being renewed before they entered into the temple. Are you following me? Hebrews 7:20 says, now let us run there with a sincere heart, full of assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled clean, which we also see in the book of Ezekiel, right? From an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Remember the book of Hebrews talks about that order on the priesthood, right? Spiritual empowerment. Remember we read earlier where the prophecy was going down, put my spirit, my spirit, my spirit. What's your spirit? It teaches you how to walk in the natural affairs of the top. That's what the Ruach does. Cleanses you of anything that's not of the Most High. John 3:34 says, for he whom God has sent speaks the words of God, but he gives the spirit without measure. It is the spirit who gives life, the flesh profits nothing. The word that I have spoken to you are spirit and life. How God anointed Yeshua of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good or doing the instructions that was given to him. Keep Torah. Matthew 19:17, and he said to him, why are you asking me about what is good? There is only one is good, but if you wish to enter into life, keep the commandments. So, whoever this so-called person is teaching people, follow the law. I'm just saying, let's move forward. Let's move forward. The fulfillment of the priesthood prophecy, we almost have a few more slides left. Exodus 19:5 says, now that you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own possession. Listen to the words. Obey my voice, keep my covenant, be my own possession among the peoples, for all the earth is mine. Wait, the peoples? Wait, you're just going into the land of Canaan and setting up shop and having your own sovereign nation. You're going into all the peoples because all the earth is mine. This is a prophetic utterance. Are you following me? And you shall be a kingdom of priests and a what? But that just means set apart. It doesn't mean I got a white coat on. No, it just means set apart. But that which is being used by the Most High. Are you feeling me? Ritual is outward, but inwardly are you set apart. Now, the so-called New Testament says, well, you are a chosen race, a what? A royal priesthood, and a what? A people for God's what? Own possession, holy nation. So that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So they teach your righteousness, call them out of darkness, and point them towards the Most High. Are you feeling me? Revelation 1:5 says, and from Yeshua HaMashiach, the faithful witness, he has made us to be a kingdom of priests to his God and Father. Him be the glory, dominion, forever and ever. His God, his Father, he has made us this kingdom of priests. So the fulfillment of this priesthood, kingdom of priests, was here. This is what the kingdom of God was being taught by Mashiach. This is why he's going to Israel. You want to be the kingdom of God? You got to be one of these priests. Let me show you how to do this thing. Once I show you how to do this, now you have to go and redeem the rest of Israel. Write the passage, keep the Torah, all of these teachings that we're reading here. You go back to the Quran communities, they taught the same thing. You know why? Because a high priest can't be a high priest unless he's obeying the instruction of the Torah. Remember I showed you earlier that somebody kept the Torah? Abraham kept the Torah. He kept the Torah. The text says it. He kept the Torah. All right, I'm just saying. Isaiah 61 says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, or the Most High is upon me, because the Lord has anointed to bring me the good news. Is where we get the so-called gospel. Hebrew, or if you look at the Septuagint, for good news, it's the same word for gospel and helion in Greek. Same word for gospel. Gospel wasn't a title to say, yeah, everybody agrees. No, the good news is the Israel. The priesthood is being restored. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Why do you think the Pharisees and Sadducees were threatened by this so-called Yeshua character? Not just that. He was telling the people that they could be priests too, according to prophecy. That's why they didn't like that. Because they didn't want you to know the hidden history. The people didn't know the hidden history. You don't know what happened, how we got in power. Now he's telling the people that what? We don't have power. We hypocrites now. This guy got to go. We need to body him. very soon, because if not, he's going to be telling people that now you're a kingdom of priests, being a holy nation, going to all the peoples and all the earth. Ye sons of Israel, not Levi. Follow me? But interestingly, the same person is reading from this script, and the script also talks about the Jubilee. It says, he sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to captives. Remember the book of Jubilee? The Quran community, it seems they believe in this Jubilee, spiritual Jubilee. And freedom to the prisoners, to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord. Again, another Jubilee terminology. And the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn. But you will be called the what? You will be spoken of as ministers of our Elohim. Same person, it says when he came to Nazarene, when he had been brought up, and that was his custom. He entered the synagogue on a Shabbat and stood up to read. He read the same thing. Then it says, and he closed the book, gave it back to the teacher, and sat down. All the eyes of the synagogue were fixed on him. And he began to say to them, today, this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing. Now look at this. And all were speaking well of him and wondering at the gracious words which was falling from his lips. I wonder where this so-called person, called the Mashiach or Yeshua, got all this information from. Maybe the communities around Quran that was in the wilderness, that John was near the same cave in the wilderness, crying out, telling people to come go through this priesthood baptism or mikvah, to turn away from your sins, come back into the fold of the Most High, and all of a sudden now we see that the so-called Yeshua character is baptized doing the same thing, and the people were discussing about the ceremonial washings. Purification. Peter says, 1 Peter 2:5 says, you also, living souls, are being built up a spiritual house for a holy priesthood, to offer spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Yeshua HaMashiach. They're also touching on the same part where it says here, says right here, where it says you will be called the priest of the Lord or the priest of the Most High. So everything you see in here is lined up, line for line, about the priesthood prophecy. Not talking about the kingship part. We just dealing with the priesthood prophecy. And so-called these writers are sounding similar to the Quran community. I don't know. That community came way before. Now, was Yeshua regarded as the teacher of righteousness to his community? Remember, the teacher of righteousness was the one that was responsible for doing what? Fulfilling Torah, giving you the right interpretation of Torah of the Quran communities. Mark 10:17, as he was sitting on the journey, a man went up to him, knelt before him, and said, good teacher, good, as do with righteousness. What shall I do to inherit eternal life? He told him, keep the commandments. Matthew 28, but do not be called rabbi, for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. Oh, my bad. And the one that he was referring to is himself. First person saying when he's referring to himself, I'm your teacher, not these other rabbis. Only the teacher of righteousness according to the wrong community and their seeds can make that claim. Are you following me? Yes, sir. It says here, Yeshua said to Mary, she turned around and said to him in Hebrew, Rabboni. That's not actually Hebrew, it's actually Arabic. But Rabboni or Rabboni, that means that that form of rabbi, note the suffix O-N-I, 4462, Rabboni or high rabbi refers to the top religious leader in Judaism. Why are they calling this man that? Because he found out about this priesthood order system, and he's teaching from the priesthood order system of Melchizedek. This is why it confounded the Pharisees and Sadducees, but he wasn't the originator of it. Another group of people was, and they just sowed the seeds. Now the reaping harvest is taking place. Are y'all following me? Does the text indicate that the priest will judge? When we read the scroll of Melchizedek, he's also going to judge. For just as the Father has life in him, so has he given to the Son. This is a designation of somebody that's following my commands. And said, and he gave him authority to execute judgment because he is the Son of Man, which is a priesthood title. And I went over this earlier. Follow me. Daniel 7:13 says, in my vision, I looked, and therefore before me one like the Son of Man. Who was that Son of Man? He was given authority, glory, sovereign power. This was written before the paid community of Quran came on the scene. This right here was written, so the Son of Man was given the authority, glory, and sovereign power, which is connected to the high priest after the order of Melchizedek, and all of this is being fulfilled, or at least spoken of being fulfilled, by the so-called character for Yahushua. Are you following me? Was there a regard for the Enochian teachings by this New Testament community? Because Enoch is very important to this priesthood system. Yes, by faith Enoch was taken from his life. They did teach that he was unfiled. Jude 1:14 says it was also about these men that Enoch in the seventh generation from Adam prophesied, saying, behold, the Lord came with many thousands of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all judgment, and to convict all ungodly of all the ungodly deeds which they have done in ungodly way, and all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. How am I doing on time? About 10 minutes? Yeah. All right. Who were the Ebionites? Now I'm wrapping this up. Who are the Ebionites? Anybody here heard of the Ebionites before? Cool. Irenaeus says they used the gospel according to Matthew only and repudiate who? Who? Okay. They practice circumcision, preserve in the observance of the customs which are enjoined by the law, and are so Judaic in their way of life, they even adore Jerusalem as it were the house of God, or Bethel. He also says that the evidence following these assert that he was begotten by Joseph or Yosef. Whoever this character is, these Ebionite people believe that this high priest at the order of Melchizedek will have a physical birth by two physical parents. That's what they taught. Then my man Brian touched on some of that. We'll be out, but he'll go back and watch that. But anyway, keep going. Another account said they live comfortably to the customs of the Jews, and they are justified according to the what? The followers of the Mashiach, so-called Mashiach, who we call Yeshua, his followers said, you're only justified according to the law. Law justifies you. Torah, instruction justifies you. And Yeshua was justified by fulfilling the law. Are you following me? The first followers of Yeshua, who I told you, the authors of the so-called New Testament community, got their teaching, understanding, beliefs from the Quran community, which got theirs from their Essenes, which all happened during the period of darkness. And this is what the earliest followers were believing. I wonder where this information went. Go find that. I'll keep going when it says, they said that Yeshua was conceived by sexual intercourse and is the seed of the man Yosef. That's what they believe. They also believe in the adherence of the observance of the Sabbath and all other Jews and Samaritan observance. It says here, the Nazarenes I've spoken about came from Ebion, was connected with them. And this is Epiphanius' account. He was a church father. Now these are Gentiles that are looking at this community of people who are the first followers of the so-called high priest after the order of Melchizedek, and trying to figure out what these people believe, different than what we believe. Connected to the Nazarene. You saw that part, right? So more says here, the fruit of the intercourse with Mary and Joseph, at least he was a plain common man until he was anointed by the Spirit to do the work of the Most High. The observance of ceremonial laws was necessary to these people. They also refused to acknowledge that he pre-existed, the so-called high priest pre-existed. I'm going to say it again. They didn't believe in the pre-existence of the so-called high priest. So when we start to understand this, we got to find out who brought this information to the forefront. Now, when we say pre-existence, we're talking about him being a person in the Godhead, because the Gentile converts was talking about the Godhead or the Trinity. And the Trinity teaches that this man was there in the beginning with the Most High. He's equal to the Most High, equal God, all this stuff. He's saying these people didn't believe this. They thought it's necessary to reject all the epistles of the Apostle Paul, the Sabbath and the rest of the disciplines the Jews they observed, just like them. And also, they were called the Ebionites because they had a lifestyle which signified the poverty of their understanding. So what does that mean? That means the term Ebionite was a derogatory term because they said these people were poor in their understanding of who the Mashiach was, but yet these same people were the first followers of the Mashiach. They don't know what they're talking about. Coming from a person hundreds of years later, I say they don't know what they're talking about. that's like you dying, right? 100 years later, somebody said, "Yo, your mother," let's say I take Randall. Randall didn't know what the heck his mother was talking about. We know more what his mother was teaching than he did, but he lived in a household. Come on, man. That doesn't make any sense. Let's keep it moving. I'm gonna keep it moving. Got 2 more slides left. All right, the Nazarenes. I told you the Nazarenes was connected also to the Ebionites, right, which were the first followers of Mashiach. If you read their teaching and all the church father teachings, everything that they did was similar to what their Essenes did. That's why the Nazarenes and the Ebionites were always connected to their Essenes and the Quran community. They had the same exact teachings. The only difference with the Ebionites and the Nazarenes is that they believed that their teacher of righteousness, who was Yeshua, had fulfilled everything, and this is why they were following after him. You feeling me? So the Nazarenes, the name Nazarenes, is the standard Greek spell of the New Testament for the man from Nazareth, the plural, Nazarene, which means men of Nazareth, title Nazarenes, men of Nazareth, first applied to who? Christians by who? So a commentary on Acts is the one, and Tertullus is the church father. He made a commentary on Acts, and he linked the first Christians to the Nazarenes, who's also connected to the Ebionites. Are y'all following me? Who's also connected to the teachings of what? The so-called New Testament, who's also connected to the Quran teachings, and also connected to the Essenes during the 40 years of darkness when nobody knows what the heck happened. But as time developed, look what happened. As time developed, they started to pick up the ideas of the who? The Gentile Christians, and they started to believe in the so-called virgin birth. In the 4th century, 1st century, they didn't believe that. 4th century, they did. Now look at this. It says the Nazarenes were similar to the who? In that they considered themselves Jews, maintained adherence to the law of Moses, and used only the what? Rejected all the canonical gospels. We're going to see what happened to that because we're wrapping up. This is more about the practices of the Essenes. Let's move forward. I think I want to get to the last one. All right, right here. All right. It says here, the Nazarenes rejected Paul. They exalted Yeshua as just a man. And when you keep on reading, they say just a man who was a priest because he was no better than the rest of them, but he was anointed or set apart to do a particular task to fulfill the priesthood. And he is the last one, the so-called dead. He was the last one of the church fathers referred to the Nazarenes who were properly what? Absorbed into the course of the 5th century, partly by who? And who? It said the rabbis mean only Judeo-Christians who are either what? Or Nazarenes. Now, before I take you to these books, I'm going to go back, because these books, I want y'all to read these books. Everything I said to you is in detail, so if you got a pen and paper, read these books. But I'm trying to figure out the last phrase that I want to read to y'all. Okay, let me read this part. It says about the Nazarenes, they were probably the descendants of the Judeo-Christians who had fled to Pella before Titus destroyed Jerusalem. Do you disagree on that? Afterward, most of them, like the Essenes in former times, with whom they had some characteristics in common, lived in the what? Wastelands around where? And hence remained out of touch with the rest of what? What? So they didn't know nothing about this Greek philosophical Gentile converts teaching this political system of Christianity. They didn't know nothing about that. They were secluded and isolated from these people. But we want to see what happened to these people. If you read this, continue to read this quote, it says here, they were known as heretics by the Gentile converts who were even Hebrews, called them heretics. It is especially difficult to distinguish the Nazarenes from the Ebionites. Rome obtained the gospel according to the Hebrews, so now there was a Hebrew manuscript that was around, somehow got burned. But I don't know, I'm just saying. And fine, if you just want to know, some Greek New Testament texts. But guess what? All these church fathers have thoroughly quoted from the so-called book of the Gospel of the Hebrews. And if you want a copy of all those quotations from this actual testament of the Nazarene and Ebionites, let me know, and I'll email it to you, and you'll see a lot of interesting stuff in there that's a little different than what the New Testament is saying. Very interesting, because now the Greek can be controlled by the people who speak the language, because they control the culture, and they Hellenize. So now we can tell you and interpret what it says. This is why you always see the Hispanic or Gentile converts always trying to teach you what the text said, mainly from the Greek and not really from the Hebrew. They want you to get you to the Greek state of mind and read the text backwards all the way to Bereshit. Now, I'm trying to find the last thing I'm looking for here. Can't find it. I'm about to just tell you what it is. But in this text somewhere, I probably didn't highlight it. It tells you that an anathema was given out upon these people by the so-called Christian Gentiles. Let me tell you what the Christian Gentiles say. They say they had at the Church of Constantinople, around the same period when the Nazarenes was coming forth, they condemned the Nazarenes and said, in order for you to come into the church, you have to renounce all customs, rites, legalism, unleavened bread, sacrifices of the lambs, all the feasts of the Hebrews, sacrifices, prayers, aspirations, purification, sanctification, propitiation, fast, new moon, Sabbaths, superstitions, hymns, chants, observances, food and drink of the Hebrews. Keep going on, and they say, hey, it says, "For shall be found eating with the Jews, that we can't even dine with them, or feast with them, or secretly conversing and condemning the Christian religion, instead of openly confuting them and condemning their vain faith, it says, then let the trembling of Gehazi cleave to me, as well as the legal punishments to which I acknowledge myself liable, and I may be an anathema, which is an eternal divine curse, and the world to come, and may my soul be set down with Satan and the devils. You don't make this talking about the Nazarenes and the Ebionites who first followed the Messiah. You cannot come into the church. But see, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you that. They have to say this in order to be in a church. This is in the 4th century. This is crazy, right? All right, so let me end it up on this. I'm going to show you these 2 books. I can't find the quote I'm looking for. The quote I'm looking for tells you that these people were systematically destroyed, wiped out, and either they were joined to Judaism or Christianity, or they were put to death by the sword, and their works and their books was all destroyed and burnt up. And the Roman Catholic Church has the best records in regards to who these people were. Go to the Catholic Encyclopedia, and they'll tell you what happened to these people. You know why? There was a holders of the patriarchal priesthood. Interesting. I want you to read these 2 books: Excommunicated the Faithful and Nazarene Jewish Christianity. It says here, how in just a few hundred years the body of Christ, this is a Gentile writing, evolved, but he's being honest, evolved from a political, non-violent, trans-religious Yeshua movement populated predominantly by Jewish Christ followers, but rapidly opening to Gentiles who also wanted to follow the Mashiach in an organized hierarchical religion, which embedded itself with the state and embraced just war and excommunicated its last surviving Jewish remnants. I will answer this question with groundbreaking historical research and pervasive argument in excommunicating the faithful Jewish Christianity in the early church, and makes clear the implications for today's churches. Here is a Gentile convert that's telling you the real history of what happened to these holders of the priesthood. They were wiped out, they were killed. And then they took their so-called cultural spiritual system and turned it into a political system that was organized and embedded itself in the state and embraced just war and excommunicated all the Jewish Christians from out of the church. You read this book here, Nazarene Jewish Christianity. Nazarene Jewish Christianity is a comprehensive study of the heirs of the earliest Jerusalem church, their history and doctrines, their relations with both synagogue and growing Gentile church. The author analyzes all sources, Jewish, Christian, and pagan, which can throw light on the sect and its ultimate mysterious disappearance. He also deals with the Birkat HaMinim and historicity of the flight to hell, which is very, very important. So when you read this, there are also Gentile converts that are telling you that the real followers of this priesthood system, after the order of Melchizedek, followers name for Yeshua, who they call the Hamashiach, or the teacher of righteousness, was telling you to follow Torah. They were systematically destroyed and killed off, infiltrated and destroyed by the early church fathers, the early Roman Catholic Church. And until today, when they tell you this 20 years darkness, don't read this stuff. Don't know this history, because now you'll wake up knowing that you're Israel and that you're the holders of this priesthood. Are y'all feeling me?
Yes, sir.